This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are over, the decorations are down, and suddenly everything feels a little empty. It's normal to feel the winter blues after the holiday excitement. January, February, and March are by far my least favorite months of the year. It's cold and dark, and I have to get some extra vitamin D on board. I also need to keep my regular scheduled appointments with my therapist. So if you're feeling that post-holiday funk, I definitely suggest you checking out BetterHelp because maybe it's time to talk. You might also be one of those people like me who makes New Year's resolutions and you get super motivated. So maybe you need someone behind you to hold you accountable and come up with a plan to meet your goals. BetterHelp is super convenient, totally online. You have a therapist right at your fingertips whenever you need them. So head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
Bored at home? Head over to Chumba Casino and join some serious social casino fun. With hundreds of games at your fingertips, no purchase necessary. You can play anytime, anywhere. There's a special welcome bonus waiting for you when you sign up. Play for fun, play for free, and you could even redeem some great prizes. Visit ChumbaCasino.com and get ready to reel in the fun. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So Russ, today I'm going to tell you about one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. And I remember seeing this guy on TV. I remember when I was a kid, this is the first time that I ever learned what a serial killer was. And the first time that I ever realized that there are people out there who actually eat other people. This is the case of Jeffrey Dahmer. Hey everyone, this is Jess. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband all my favorite true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What's up, crime folks? I'm here. It's Russ.
So let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you something, and then I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go, and you have to say what the first thing that pops in your head.
Sometimes my brain works slow. It might take a little longer than you want.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Who is the most notorious serial killer of all time? 1, 2, 3, go.
Jack the Ripper.
Oh man, you didn't get it. I had more faith in you.
Who was it supposed to be? Jack the Ripper.
Nope.
That's the most famous one.
Well, who's the most famous American serial killer of all time? Ready, set, go.
Someone on Netflix that has a documentary that I probably can't remember their name.
No.
The Manson dude.
Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer is probably one of the most notorious serial killers that ever lived. Everyone knows Jeffrey Dahmer.
I'm not sure if I know him.
Yes, you do.
I heard his name.
You know Jeffrey Dahmer.
See, now a question I would have got right if you'd have been like, who is the home run king in the MLB? Who has the most steals in baseball? Who has the most points in basketball of all time? I could have answered all those questions.
Well, I'm not taking you to any true crime trivia nights, that's for sure. So I decided to do Jeffrey Dahmer this week, who is the guy that eats the people.
Ain't there a bunch of those?
No, but he is the one that got arrested in the 90s, and it was like all over the place when we were kids. Whatever. I thought you would be more excited because I thought you would know who this was. Okay.
No, I don't. I mean, I heard of some dude that eats some dudes.
Yeah, that's him. The dude that eats the dudes. And he's like not ugly. He's relatively decent looking. So people were like, oh my gosh, he did that?
Compared to other serial killers?
Well, Ted Bundy was, everyone thought he was good looking. So
I'm going to look at what this guy looks like. I'm pretty sure he's average at best.
Well, he is average, but he wasn't like
ugly and weird looking. He was weird, but he wasn't weird looking.
Right now, there's a serial killer listening to this, but like, hey, I'm handsome too. Maybe we should do a list. Top 5 most attractive serial killers.
But they're just so gross. Okay, so Jeffrey Dahmer. I remember Jeffrey Dahmer when I was a kid.
He's not handsome. He's not even regular.
No.
I'm looking at a picture.
No, if you look at him when he was younger, he was. People thought he was handsome when he was younger. Not when he wears the big glasses after he got arrested.
Well, the people that think he's handsome like people that look like crackhead rednecks. Because I'm looking at him now. That's a crackhead redneck.
Okay.
With a hairline that's on the way out.
Okay. So I remember when I was a kid, because he got arrested in 1991. So Jeffrey Dahmer, for me personally, was the first time I ever even found out what a serial killer was. I was probably 7 or 8, and it was all over the media because he got arrested in 91, but then his trial was like all televised. It was a big deal. And I remember hearing that there was this guy who ate people. And this was the first time I ever heard of someone eating people. And it just always stuck out in my mind as he is the first serial killer I ever heard of and the first time I ever heard of cannibalism.
Did he cook them?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess you're going to tell me everything.
I'm going to tell you the story.
Sometimes I wonder if they eat them raw or they cook them.
No, he would cook them.
They freeze them and eat them like arm popsicle?
Yeah, he would freeze the body parts and then he would cook them and eat them.
Well, at least he froze them so there wouldn't be no, bacteria.
I guess. He also, I was earlier.
That's how you get a coronavirus, I think.
I mean, it's a virus, so no, that's not how you get it, but whatever. It's transferred between people.
Oh, no one wants the medical terms.
Okay. So I was researching this case earlier today, and I was on my headphones, and you were sitting in the living room, and then I just bursted out laughing.
Yeah.
Right? Because there was footage of him, like home video footage of his dad who was like making a home video, and his dad was talking about how, oh, Jeffrey, you look really good. You know, you look like you've lost some weight. You look really built and handsome. And his answer was, yeah, I started eating more at home. And I just started laughing because I just felt that was very, very ironic. Okay.
I've been eating more at home.
So
maybe he was trying to save money.
No, unfortunately.
Human meat is free. You just gotta, No,
he wasn't.
Take it.
So Jeffrey Dahmer murdered 17 men over a 13-year period. He drugged, killed, dismembered, had sex with their bodies, and then ate some of them. He was the true definition of a necrophiliac, a sadist, a cannibal. But
what's a sadist?
So a sadist, there's sadomasochism and
You just made the word more complicated.
I'm going to explain it to you. So a sadist is someone who likes to control or have power over another person. And, like in these counter sex cultures, they have BDSM. And you ever see like the dominatrix girl?
So that's what that is?
That's a sadist, someone who wants to control somebody else.
So they wear leather with a ball in their mouth?
Not all of them. No. The balls in their mouth are the people who are submitting to the sadist.
The sadies?
No, they're called masochists.
Well, if someone's a sadist, someone should be a sadie. They receive it.
If someone's a sadist, the other person is a masochist. A masochist is someone who likes to be told what to do in a sexual situation.
Oh.
So.
I'll try to remember that.
So like I said, he was a true necrophiliac, sadist, and cannibal. But Jeffrey Dahmer's mind was pretty complex. So today I'm going to tell you all about his life and his crimes, and we are going to unpack the convoluted psyche of one of the most notorious serial killers of all time. So Dahmer's story...
You didn't say it.
Didn't say what?
Are you ready?
Oh, are you ready? I think I said it earlier.
Well, I'm still ready.
Okay, good. So now Dahmer's story is pretty fascinating because he came from a relatively good childhood. He was, raised in a pretty good home. His parents didn't abuse him. His dad was really supportive of him. He was the only child for a little while. He later had a younger brother, but when he was first born, he was the only child for a little while. And his parents showered him with love and attention since he was all they had.
Maybe they made him too soft.
No, that's not it. I mean, we'll get into it a little later.
Soft. He killed people and ate them.
Yeah, he's not that soft. So he was born May 21st, 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He was described as like an energetic and happy little boy until right after his 4th birthday, he had to have a double hernia repair surgery. And a lot of people in his family like say that this is a time when they distinctly remember his personality changed after the surgery. He was only 4. So before his surgery, he was very energetic and happy. And then he had this surgery, and apparently he was really traumatized by it. And afterwards, his personality changed, and he wasn't
kind of like Biggie.
As happy.
Like when they chopped Biggie's balls off, and now he doesn't run around that much.
Well, yeah, but Biggie also lost a lot of testosterone, and that's our dog, Biggie. But he lost a lot of testosterone, so that's probably why he doesn't run as much. Well, yeah, he doesn't have as much testosterone now.
Or maybe he's sad he doesn't have balls.
Maybe.
I'd be sad.
I bet. So yeah, he was apparently, family members say that he was kind of traumatized by this surgery, and
I don't get this, because when you're 4, you don't remember shit.
Well, I don't know. All I'm going by is what his family members said, and he
should have ate them. They're dumb.
And his family members said that after the surgery, he was not as energetic, wasn't as happy. He was a lot more subdued. He kind of like retreated into himself and kind of became a loner.
And give him another hernia. Let him pick up something heavy and strain.
I don't know, Russ. I'm just telling you the story from what I read and everything I researched. So now, as an adult, though, Dahmer did a lot of interviews. He talked a lot to a lot of reporters. He did tons of interviews. He was very forthcoming with, talking, kind of like Ed Kemper was. He was a lot like Ed Kemper in that way, where he would talk to people all the time. He talked to Robert Resler, the guy who worked with John Douglas in the FBI, and they coined the name serial killer. He interviewed with him. He interviewed with tons of TV reporters and everything. And throughout all of his interviews, he was very adamant about saying, this is no one else's fault. This is all me. It wasn't my parents' fault. There's no one else to blame for it. So I'm going to play you just a short clip of an interview he did with Stone Phillips back in the day. And he explains how this is nobody's fault but his own.
I feel it's wrong for people who commit crimes to try to shift the blame onto somebody else, onto their parents or onto their upbringing or living circumstances. I think that's just a cop-out. And my parents, my relatives, had no knowledge of what I was doing. They're absolutely not responsible for any of it in any way. And I take full responsibility.
But you understand that what you did would lead your father to ask himself all kinds of questions.
That's true.
Where did I go wrong? Was there something I could have said or done to have prevented this?
Right.
Did I, in some way, create or contribute to the terrible acts my son committed?
I understand that. I just get angry with other people who think that they have a right to somehow try to blame my parents for what happened. That's not right at all. No one has the right to do that because they're totally innocent. They had no knowledge of it. And that angers me.
So see, he really was adamant about that, and he'd said that all the way up until he died.
I'm very much with that. I hate when people don't take responsibility for their own actions. I know plenty of kids that got ass whoopings and was hungry when they were a kid, and they're good people. So whenever they say, "Oh, he had a bad childhood," fuck that. You don't got to eat people. You don't got to kill people. You could go get a job. You could be regular.
No, I agree with you. So when it comes to serial killer tendencies and psychopathy and stuff, I really believe that it's really a mix of nature and nurture. That nature plays a huge part. There's something inside somebody. A couple episodes ago, you said, shit always floats to the top, remember?
Yeah.
But that's like the perfect analogy for this.
But some poop sinks.
It's the one thing I thought that you ever said that was a good smart thing.
I've been smart once, according to Jess.
I'm just kidding. No, but it was actually a really good analogy for this, because when it comes to this type of stuff, I feel like a lot of people are born with the ability to potentially grow into a killer or do like really sick shit. But sometimes, the nurture part, if someone's raised in a certain way or something traumatic happens, it'll like bring it out of them. But in this case, he really didn't have any huge childhood trauma. It was all really nature with him.
Yeah, I think it's a mix. I mean, maybe if you're abused, you're a little more likely to, I don't know, not eat people. That's a very rare case. But you're more likely to be a piece of shit, I guess. But right now, since he's taking responsibility for his actions, I just knocked one off on the scale of piece of shit. So right now he's a level 9 piece of shit.
Well, that might change later. But a lot of people did say things about his parents, and this is why he said that in that interview, because his parents had a very tumultuous relationship, and they used to fight constantly, and not just like argue. They would violently fight. They would throw things at each other. At one point, there was a time when they drew knives and pulled knives on each other, and so some
have a duel.
Well, I mean, they threatened each other with knives, threatened to kill each other.
Well, that happened from where I'm from. All parents fight. All kids get beatings.
Okay, I'm just telling you why people contributed maybe him becoming a loner, because his parents were kind of wrapped up in their own drama when he was a kid, and he was kind of left on his own. His parents kind of were just worried about their own crap. So some people say that might have had an impact on him.
There's probably people that won Nobel Peace Prize and humanitarians that their parents beat the shit out of each other and smoked crack. I don't know.
Maybe.
And they probably, well, not crack. It could have been their drug of choice.
Yeah.
But that went, and that kid turned out to be what do they call him? A scholar.
A scholar.
Yeah.
So Jeffrey was very fascinated with the insides of animals. And this started when he was pretty young. He was in elementary school. And, little boys, they'll like play with bugs and like, I don't know. What did little boys do? Don't they like smush bugs and like rip worms in half and stuff? I mean, when I was a kid, I used to bait the hook when we would go fishing. I wasn't scared of those worms. I would break them in half. I would bait the hook, no problem.
Well, here in New York, we don't really touch nasty shit. But when I was a kid, I killed cockroaches because I lived in the hood. So I used to kill a lot of cockroaches, but that's just because they were in my house. Yeah, like you turn the light on and then they're all there. When you come home, you take your shoe off and you smash them up.
Oh, God.
What boys play with, to me, is basketballs, baseballs, footballs.
Yeah, but other boys might,
in the
remember,
woods.
Do you remember, did you guys used to catch lightning bugs here?
That's the one thing I did bad. We used to catch them. This makes me feel bad now that I think about it. And we put them in a jar. And we put them on a phone and smush them. And you like write your name with your foot. Oh, I feel so bad.
Well, don't feel bad. We used to do.
There was flying,
like
glowing cockroaches.
We used to take them and we would.
I don't want to hear it. Let's skip this. You did something bad.
Oh, you feel bad for the lightning bugs.
Just because, like, it's not good.
It's messed up. It is. Okay. So anyway, he was really fascinated with the insides of animals. And as a child, his dad kind of thought, oh, he's just being a boy. Like, little boys, they're fascinated with weird stuff. Like, they like bones and things like that.
That's true.
Plus, his dad was a chemist. A scientist, and he kind of attributed it to, I was a nerd when I was a kid. I was into scientific stuff. Like maybe he's really into biology or whatever. So one thing he did used to do is he would pick up roadkill, bring it back to his house, and then he would cut the animal open and play with its organs.
Oh.
He would do that in the woods behind his house. He was really interested in touching the organs. He liked the way they felt.
Someone should just gave him some Play-Doh.
At one point, he even chopped off a dog's head, but the dog wasn't alive. The dog was dead. He chopped the dog's head off and put it on stick, and put it in the ground. So the dog's head was just sitting on a stick. He did weird stuff like that. But one thing about him that I really want you to understand is that he didn't like to kill things. Like other serial killers, he didn't enjoy the torture or the murder. And you'll see later with his killings that he actually he pulled a Bill Cosby on everyone. He would drug them and kill them after they were completely inebriated. So he's not a killer who likes the act of killing. He likes dead things. Okay. And this will carry on into his adulthood. So now Dahmer's about 12 years old and he's a total outcast. He's bullied pretty bad. He has no friends and he's fantasizing about playing with dead animals and their organs. And this is about the time that he starts to go through puberty. So the line between, like a regular fantasy and a sexual fantasy starts to get blurred at this point.
Don't tell me he's going to have sex with a dead animal.
He didn't have sex with dead animals, but he started fantasizing in a more sexual way about dead things. And it's hard to understand, like, especially hard for someone like you to understand how someone could fantasize about dead things in a sexual way, but that's kind of what started happening.
I think that's weirder than killing people.
It is weirder.
Because I bet there are more murders than people having sex with dead people. Like, it's way more common for someone to just get killed.
That's true. Than there is to have sex with dead people.
Yeah, that's much more rare.
It is really, necrophilia is really rare. Definitely. So now, this is also a time when Dahmer realized that he was gay. He kissed another boy when he was around 13 years old, and this is, confirmation for him.
How you doing?
That he was gay and that he wasn't into girls at all. So at this point, around the beginning of high school, his family moved to Ohio, and he goes into high school. And this is also a time when his parents separate, and he lives with his mom and his younger brother. His mom is clinically depressed, like really ill to the point where she will not get out of bed every day. So he's just kind of raising himself at this point. He starts to have these sexual fantasies that transfer into dead men. It went from animals, now it's into men. And he starts thinking about what it would be like to lay down, not have sex, but just lay down with a dead man. And that was like where his fantasy started, just laying with someone dead. So now, because he's having all these weird thoughts, and he knows they're weird, like he totally is aware of the fact that this is not right.
But you know what's crazy? We were watching a TV show the other day. It was a movie. And the dude was the killer. You put it on Instagram for people to watch. I forgot the name of the movie.
Outsider.
No, it was a movie. That's a TV show. Remember where the dude, it was similar to that other killer we did, like BTK?
Yeah.
It was on Netflix.
Clove Hitch Killer or something?
Yeah, so he said something that reminds me of this case. He says, like, you can't help what you think. So if you have these feelings, you don't choose your feelings, which is nuts.
You don't.
So, like, he wants these things and he knows, like, this is weird as shit.
He knows.
Thoughts just pop in your head.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. I just thought about that the other day.
No, but it's cool that you're, like, understanding now how hard it must be. You're, like, identifying with how hard it must be for this person. You have to think, this is 1970, I don't know, 6 or... It's 1976 at this point. So this is like, it's not socially acceptable to be gay.
It made me think that because he was just like, he knew that this is weird.
Yeah, he knows it's weird.
Yeah, but it's like, what the hell is this thought doing in my head?
So he's in high school, he's gay and has no friends and has these super weird thoughts about fantasizing about dead things. So he knows this is not right, and he doesn't tell anyone. He holds it all inside, and he's kind of freaked out by himself. Like, he realizes this isn't cool, but he doesn't know what to do because he's just in high school. So he starts to drink and drink and drink, and he drinks every single day to just mask these feelings. And he becomes a full-blown alcoholic in high school. He
that might make high school better. High school's boring.
Well,
if I was drunk, it would have been all right.
Well, he loses his inhibitions when he's drunk. And this actually made him become kind of like the class clown. And he didn't have friends. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't popular. He was like a class clown, and he would do really random, funny, weird shit, and people would laugh at him.
Okay.
But that was like his way of fitting in, kind of. And so then when it actually became a thing in his school, and when other people would do funny or weird shit, they would call it doing a Dahmer. Because, I don't know, that's just the reputation that he got. So now, in June of 1978, right after finishing high school, Dahmer decided that these thoughts and fantasies were just so intense, he needed to finally do something. He needed to finally act on this. So he was driving one day and he saw a man walking down the road. And this man's name was Stephen Hicks, and he was heading to a concert. Dahmer pulled over and offered to give the man a ride. And since this is the 70s, people used to get in cars with random people all the time.
Why were people so stupid back then?
I don't know, but that's what they did. So, you know, Dahmer, one thing also to remember is he was really likable. He wasn't like, he didn't act weird. And when you watch interviews with him and stuff, everyone says, this guy is very articulate. He's very friendly. Like, and he could fool anyone. People thought he was very genuine and nice and sweet. No one realized how sick he truly was. So the guy was like,
don't categorize people.
True. It's true. So the guy was like, all right, cool. I'll take a ride to this concert because he had a long way to walk. And he gets in the car, and Dahmer doesn't take him to the concert. He takes him to his house. And he's like, hey, just come in. Let's have a few drinks. Let's hang out. And the guy's like, all right, I'll have a few drinks before the concert. The guy's only 19. So he's like, okay, cool. I'll have a few drinks. We'll chill. Then we'll go to this concert. Because Dahmer told him.
So he's a kid, basically. If you're 19, you're basically a kid.
You're young. Like, he doesn't know that he's about to get killed.
I would know. Well, I wouldn't know, but I wouldn't get in the car.
Well, Russ, okay. Everyone has to understand the type of person you are. You don't trust anyone. You would never take a ride with anybody. You would never go to a stranger's house unless you were picking up money or doing something.
Unless he owed me money. Well, he's not a stranger if he owes you money.
Well, I mean, you just don't go to strangers' houses.
No, well, who would go to a stranger's house?
People do all the
What's
time.
in there?
I don't know, but that's just how you are. But you have to understand that's not how everybody is.
The only way I'd go to a stranger's house, well, maybe if they had a cute puppy in the yard, I might pet the puppy, but I'm not going in the house.
So now Dahmer brings the guy back to his house.
Idiots.
And they get really drunk, right? Dahmer just is feeding this guy drinks. They get super drunk, and then he hits him on the head with a barbell and kills him.
I wonder, was it like a one-shot kill? I wonder if you have to like...
I don't know. He might have beat him on the head.
Yeah, because I feel like
know.
one shot, you might just knock someone out.
Well, he killed him. And then he laid down with the body for a few hours. He just laid with it and touched it and laid with it. He didn't do anything like, he didn't have sex with it or anything. He just laid with it. And then he needed to get rid of it because now he's at his parents' house. He needs to his mom, because his parents separated, but his mom lives there. So he needs to get rid of the body. So what he does is he goes down in the basement and he dismembers it. And then he decided, okay, I'm going to take these trash bags to the dump. He's just winging it at this point. He hasn't planned anything out. This is his first time acting on these fantasies. So he puts all the trash bags into the back of his car, in the back seat, not in the trunk, and he drives to the dump, and he gets pulled over by the police.
No, with the bags.
So the police pull him over, and they're, questioning him. They're a little skeptical. First of all, they don't do a breathalyzer or try to get him. They don't do anything like that, even though he's probably pretty drunk.
I bet they didn't have breathalyzers back then. I'm going to look up what year breathalyzers came out.
Yeah, but maybe they could have done like a sobriety test, like walk on the line, touch your nose, all that. But
no, you were allowed to drive and drink and drive back then. It wasn't a big deal. So like, I remember my grandfather telling me, like, back in the day, if you're coming home from the bar and you're drunk and they pull you over, a lot of times they would say, drive home and we'll follow you, go slow. Or pull over, leave your car here, go home.
Wow.
Or something like that. So
that's nice.
Drive and drive. I mean, you shouldn't drive drunk.
You shouldn't drive drunk. I never drive drunk, but it's still nice that they were like that.
Yeah, if you're swerving all over, they'll be like, all right. Or they'll just be like, all right, just go home really slow. Go easy and go home.
Wow.
So driving drunk wasn't a big deal back then.
So, Dahmer had, he's a quick thinker and he's a quick talker and he's very manipulative. So when they pulled him over, he said, listen, my parents are separating. They're fighting all the time. I really just needed to get out of the house. So I thought I would,
Oh, shit. A breathalyzer. Sorry, I was looking something up.
Wow.
Russ, the researchers here. A breathalyzer was invented in 1954.
Oh, wow. So they did have it.
I don't know when they started using it because I can't read and listen to the podcast. Here it is. The Road Safety Act of 1967 introduced the first legally enforceable maximum blood. Too many words there. You get the point.
1967. Okay, so this was 1978. So they probably had breathalyzers, but that's
Not in the car. They probably had one in the whole precinct.
maybe. But that's beside the point.
And the cop was probably drunk back then.
Maybe, yeah. So they decided, okay, we'll give you a ticket. He was a very smooth talker. He was manipulative, and he said to them, "Listen, my parents are fighting. There's a lot going on in my house. I just really needed to clear my head. We had all this stuff that had to go to the dump, so I'm just taking it to the dump." And they believed him, so they just gave him a ticket because he was swerving. They gave him a small ticket and let him go. So now he became like a raging alcoholic because after this murder, he felt really guilty about it. He felt really ashamed at what he did. He didn't, like I said before, you have to try to remember that he doesn't like killing. He just likes dead things.
He was probably embarrassed even that he was cuddling with it, like I'm laying there with a dead person. That gotta be weird.
Yeah.
Especially if he has some type of brain.
Well, he was really like ashamed of it. So he became this raging alcoholic and he was drinking constantly. He couldn't hold a job. So his dad said, "All right, let's send you to college. I'm going to pay for your college." Sent him to Ohio State University. He flunked out within like the first year. He was always drunk in class. He was skipping class all the time because he was wasted. So he dropped out really fast. So his dad was like, okay, because his dad was very supportive. All right. So he was always trying to help him get sober and was really focused on helping his sobriety and getting him on the right track. So then his dad was like, all right, let's put you in the military. Maybe you need just straight up discipline because you can't get your life together. So his dad enlisted him in the military. And when he went, the job that he chose is to be a medic. So he became a medic and got sent to Germany. So while he was in Germany, his drinking got even worse and he was totally out of control over there as well. So years later, it would come out that, are you waiting to tell me something? You're looking at your phone.
I was very curious.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't looking at cars or sports scores. Since you said he was an alcoholic, I was like, I wonder what his favorite drink was if it was on the internet.
Oh.
So I found it.
Okay.
So Jeffrey Dahmer, he was a heavy drinker, blah, blah, blah. He'd lace the drinks with sleeping pills of the people he killed.
Yeah.
Before strangling and dismembering them, Dahmer would start the night on beer, Miller or Pabst. This is for people that are curious like me. Before moving into blended Scotch, whiskey, or any brand of rum with Coke.
Yeah, he would.
He was a rum and Coke dude.
I was going to tell you that later, but it's all right.
Russ, the researcher,
Okay.
on the case.
That is all true. So now, like I was saying, he enlisted in the military, became a medic, and was sent to Germany. And when he got to Germany, his drinking was totally out of control. Okay. Years later, it would come out that while he was in the military, he raped 2 men in his unit. So 2 of his fellow soldiers he raped. A few years ago, these 2 men finally spoke out about their trauma because they're advocating for men being sexually assaulted in the military because it happens all the time.
Were they his boyfriend or it was like random dudes?
No, they were men in his unit that he drugged and raped.
That's crazy.
While they were, totally drugged. So the men, like I said, didn't speak about it for years. 30 years went by before they actually talked about it. When he got arrested and they found out all this stuff about him, the guys didn't come out because they didn't want any media coverage. They didn't tell anyone in their family. So they waited until way after he died.
I'm surprised they even said anything.
Well, I think after 30 years, they got the strength to talk about it and advocate for the men in the military. There's a lot of people in the military that are sexually assaulted, men and women more than men. But men in the military are, and people don't talk about it. So that it was the thing that they wanted to talk about. his superiors noticed that he was getting out of control with his drinking, and they decided to discharge him early. But he was really ashamed of this. He didn't want to tell his dad because his dad thought, oh, my son's in the military, he's getting his life together. So he didn't tell anybody, and he moved back to the States and lived in Miami for a whole year. He lived in an apartment for a short time, but then he couldn't afford the rent, so he ended up living on the beach for a while in Miami.
Damn, he was a bum.
Yeah, he would sleep there every night. And then one night, a rat crawled on his face while he was sleeping, which is your like biggest nightmare of all time, because Russ, by the way, is scared of rats. Super scared of them.
I ain't that scared.
Yeah, you are. When we walk down the street and there's trash pile.
Look at you getting off subject. What are you, me?
He won't even walk near it.
Well, obviously, because if you walk near the trash, you're in New York City. There's rats all over. That's where they eat. It could run up your leg or something. I'm not scared. I'm smart. I hope a rat runs up your leg, Jess, because you don't want to walk right by the big old trash.
So a rat crawled on his face. And he got super scared. He's like, I need an apartment. So he called his dad, asked for money. And his dad was like, listen, I'm not giving you any money. I'm done giving you money. You use it to drink. You know, you can have a plane ticket home, but I'm not giving you any money. So he took up his dad's offer and moved back to Ohio.
Makes sense.
So now, once he got to Ohio, he just kept doing bad things. He was arrested for indecent exposure because he was masturbating in public.
Oh, damn.
And then he moved in with his...
Like a monkey jerking off in the zoo in public.
Yeah, in public. He was just masturbating, which is just so weird.
That's
like,
weird as shit.
And then he moved in with his grandmother in Wisconsin. She was like a super Christian. She went to church every week. And so he started going to church with her. And for a short time, you know, he would attend church with her, and he was really trying to change because, like I said, he knew that this just wasn't good, everything that's going on in his head, but it didn't work. So he kept drinking. So in 1986, he was arrested again because two 12-year-old boys accused him of masturbating in front of them. So now he's like doing weird stuff with kids, which gets really...
He wants people to see him
not
and shit.
good. And then he fondled a 14-year-old boy, and he was sentenced to 1 year for sexual assault. Only 1 year for fondling a random 14-year-old kid. I feel like 1 year is not enough for that.
I wonder if it's different now, like you would get more time. I don't know how that stuff works.
I don't know. But then September of 1987, Dahmer and a boy named Steve Tiomi checked into a hotel, and they were drinking. You know, they were planning to have a night together at this hotel. Dahmer claims that he woke up the next morning laying next to Steve's dead body, he was covered in bruises, and he was dead. And Dahmer claims that he woke up and he has no memory at all of the killing. He took the body to his grandmother's basement in a suitcase. He stuffed the body in a suitcase. He then called a cab and had the cab driver...
It's big suitcases, man.
Yeah, had the cab driver help him put the suitcase in the cab. Took a cab to his grandmother's house. Then in the basement, he dismembered it. He started, after this point of dismembering this body, he started like actively searching for men to kill at this point. And he would specifically...
Like he was hunting.
Yeah. It's starting to like really spiral now. Well, it started spiraling earlier, but it's really getting out of control now from this point on.
Well, it wasn't spiraling that bad. He was jerking off in public. That's terrible, but it's not as bad as like killing people.
Well, yeah, but he killed that other guy when he hit him on the head.
So, oh, that's right. He already did one.
So he would choose people kind of on the fringe of society. Drug dealers, people who didn't want, you know, who were kind of low profile, homeless people. And then he was really big into the gay scene because in Milwaukee at the time, in the late 70s, early 80s, there was actually a huge gay scene there. There was lots of gay bars, and it was, you know, a place for gay people to feel like they fit in. So he would go to these, you know, gay clubs and bars, and he would charm these men and convince them to come home with him. And then when he would get them back to his house, he would drug them, strangle them, and then after they died, he would have sex with their dead bodies.
Ugh.
He would dismember them in the basement of his grandmother's house, and then dispose of it in different ways.
I guess Grandma probably never went in that basement.
Well, one day she did. And when she got there...
Oh, I did a segue into that.
You did. I was about to tell you. Well, Grandma came home one day at a time she wasn't supposed to be home, and she walked downstairs and she saw a really drunk, that she thought he was drunk, but he was probably drugged up because Dahmer drugged him, naked man in the basement. And she was like, I'm done with your shenanigans. You're kicked out.
You get that ding-a-ling out of here.
So she kicked Dahmer out of the house, and he moved in.
Was he naked?
No, she just saw the naked man, but then she kicked them out and kicked him out.
Saved his life.
So, yeah, well, I don't know.
Might have later.
Yeah, he might have gotten his life
But he might
saved.
not have had a phone number. He might have been a bum. Couldn't call him.
Yeah, true. That's true. He might have saved his life. I mean, she might have saved his life. So he ended up moving into his own apartment. And this was apartment 213. And this would become a famous apartment because this is where a majority of his killings happened. So in September of 1989, he ended up sexually assaulting a 13-year-old boy. And the boy told his family, and Dahmer was charged with it. At this trial, he argued that he knows the error of his ways, he's a changed man, and his defense team really said, you know what, he just needs rehabilitation. He has these urges, but he has them under control. He needs rehabilitation. He doesn't need incarceration. So the judge decided to give him 1 year in prison, but then also gave him a work day release. So every day he would go to work, he would leave prison, go to work, and then he would come back to prison every day.
Wow, that's a good jail sentence.
Yeah. And he worked at a chocolate factory.
Motherfucker was Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
He was working there with Oompa Loompas.
So his father actually wrote a letter during this whole trial. His father knew his son is not okay. Like, my son is not all right.
So he gave up hope.
Yeah, kind of. He gave up after this. He didn't know everything his son was doing, but he knew if he's sexually assaulting little boys and he's constantly drunk and other weird stuff, this is not okay.
Yeah,
so,
he's picking on the vulnerable and weak, like most killers seem to do. They pick the easiest target.
Yeah.
Like
so
like they would say the path of the least resistance.
Yeah, exactly. So his father wrote a letter to the court during this trial saying, my son needs to be institutionalized. He does not need to be out in the public right now. He needs psychiatric help. And the court didn't listen to him. And he ended up he got that really light sentence, and then he got released early for good behavior. So over the next 3 years, his murders accelerated and his body count went from 4 to 17 in 3 years. He began developing all kinds of crazy rituals. He would save the skulls and paint them different colors. He was building a shrine of body parts because it was like this sexual shrine.
Yo, he's like Ed Gein. But Ed Gein, I don't think Ed Gein had sex with them, right?
Ed Gein had sex with them, but he wouldn't kill them. They were already dead. He only killed a couple people.
Look at us.
No, I'm just saying, like, he didn't kill as many as this guy. But he's a lot like Ed Gein with the necrophilia and weird stuff.
That's like saving the body parts as decorations.
Well, he turned it into like a shrine. This is crazy. Are you ready for this? Are you ready?
Nope.
He wanted to create... So he's a sadist, right? So he wants someone to completely be at his mercy. That's why he would drug these guys and make them inebriated. He wanted to be in total control. His idea and dream was to have like just a mindless sexual slave that would just be his sex slave. So what he wanted to create was a sex slave zombie. So he would take these dead men and he would inject their brains with a chemical called muriatic acid. And it's just like a cleaning chemical, but he believed that he was going to turn them into zombies and that they would become his sex slave zombies.
I didn't know zombies was even an idea back then.
Well, in Jeffrey Dahmer's mind, it was.
Damn, that's...
crazy. Like, this is getting, it was like, it happened quick. It went from like, I'm super weird to, okay, I'm committing to this.
It's like that Drake
this
song.
This is me.
0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah, Definitely. So he would drill holes in their heads and inject this acid in there. But obviously it didn't work. We don't have zombies. So on May 27th, 1991, police received a 911 call. A young Asian boy was running in the street, bleeding from his bottom. A young Asian boy, okay? The boy was disoriented and seemed to be drugged. And these two girls, they called the police. They were really nervous and worried about him. So the police show up to see what's going on and meet this Asian boy. And he doesn't speak any English. So he can't even explain where he was, why he's like this. Dahmer comes up to the police, approaches them and says, listen, this is my boyfriend. He's 19. We're having like a lover's quarrel. We were at the house. We were having sex. And, things got out of hand. And then we got into a big argument. We got into a fight. Let's just take him back to my house. He can sleep it off.
Shut up. And his butt's bleeding.
And he's naked.
And he's naked.
And he's disoriented. And he can't speak English and defend himself. And you know what the cops did?
I know what they did.
They took him
back to the house.
They took him back to Jeffrey Dahmer's house. How crazy is that? They took him back to the house.
Well, back then people used to hitchhike too. So
it doesn't matter.
It was a dumb era.
The cops were idiots.
That was the era of dumbness, and this is the era of sensitivity. So eras just change.
All right, well, these cops were idiots. They took him back to the house.
Obviously idiots.
If they would have looked in the house, if they would have just said, you know what, let's take a look around, they would have found a dead body in his bedroom, because there was a dead body in there. But nope.
No, they obviously were lazy. They didn't want to go through the whole thing. Oh, we got to find where he lives, blah, blah, blah. Let's just bring him back.
Another thing is, this is a time when being gay is very, taboo. And I'm sure the cops were like, oh, I'm not getting in the middle of this bullshit. But the kid was 14. He wasn't 19.
Wow.
He was a child. And they took him back to the house, left him there.
Where'd he find this kid?
He was a kid from the neighborhood. The little girls, they had seen him, the little kid around the neighborhood.
Damn,
that's how they knew him.
Scooped him up.
So he ended up, the kid came back, Dahmer drugged him and then killed him. And it was just sad. That makes me really angry. So now one thing he would do is the men that he found most attractive were the ones that he would keep their body parts. And he would freeze them and then he would eat them.
Yeah.
It's just weird. So
he's himself.
You're getting slightly uncomfortable with this story, I can tell.
I'm just drinking.
So
I'm not even drinking a lot. I'm only on my second beer.
So another thing he would do, which you're going to be weirded out by, is he would save some of the penises.
Ah, come on.
He would, and he would mummify them.
You could leave some of this out.
I'm just telling you the truth.
It was like a penis burrito. He was wrapping them shits up.
He would mummify them, yeah, and keep them.
Blech.
So then in July of 1991, Dahmer met a man.
I just said penis burrito. I wish we edited this podcast. That's so terrible.
Do you want me to edit it?
Nah, just keep going. Whatever. We already crossed the threshold of weirdness.
I crossed a lot of lines here. This is a weird one. So now in July of 1991, Dahmer met a man named Tracy Edwards and lured him back to his apartment like he did every time. So he fixed him a drink.
Rum and Coke.
And you know what? This is one thing that I thought about that he did.
I like rum and Coke.
You do. You like rum and Coke. So, you might have fell victim.
Me and Carrie like rum and Cokes.
So.
Carrie's my sister.
So one thing that he did is he would always approach these guys, the ones that he would see on the street, the ones that were in the bars. He would approach these guys with a 6-pack of beer. And he'd be like, hey, I got some beer. You want to come back to my apartment and hang out? Let's chill. And they'd be like, okay.
How easy was it to pick people up?
And they would go back to the apartment. But then when they got back to the apartment, he would fix them a mixed drink. And it always made me wonder, he has a 6-pack. Why would you not, why wouldn't you take one of the beers? He would get back there and he would fix a mixed drink so he could put the sleeping pills in it. But to me, it was just weird that he would lure them with beer and then go fix them a rum and Coke.
That's not that weird.
I don't know. I felt it was weird. So what if the guy was like, nah, I'm going to take a beer? And his plan is...
You foiled my plan.
Yeah, foiled. So then...
No, that's not that weird. We have a liquor thing over there. Sometimes I take a beer. Sometimes I take booze.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about...
I understand what you're saying, but that's only something you would think of in hindsight.
Yeah, I guess.
You watching a movie, you're like, no, you went there for beer. Don't drink the booze.
Yeah, true. That's true. So then, okay, so Tracy Edwards, he lures him back to the apartment. He fixes him his special drink, and Tracy starts to get a little drugged up, but he keeps his wits about him, okay? So Dahmer says, hey, you want to come in my bedroom? Let's go watch a movie in bed. So he goes...
Netflix and kill. Jess loves puns.
I do. I love puns.
Maybe that'll be our next shirt. Netflix and kill. By the way, buy one of our t-shirts or something. We got some dope shirts on the website of wifeofcrime.com.
We do. Okay. So he went in the bedroom and he starts to smell this like weird stench. And when you smell death, you don't know necessarily that it's like, have you ever smelled something? You're like, oh, something's dead. Like something smells off. Have you ever smelled something like that?
I mean, I've been in the New York City subway.
I know, but when you smell death,
it smells like piss and
it's
bum.
a very potent. Death is like a dead animal. It's very potent. You can really smell it.
I never smelled that.
You might have and just not realize that's what it was. So Tracy walks in the bedroom.
Maybe like a dead mouse.
Yeah, like a dead mouse.
But that's not that strong, so it's so small.
Maybe. So Tracy walks in the bedroom. He smells this weird smell. He's like, yo, this shit isn't right. I got to get out of here. This isn't cool. So he ends up laying down with him in bed, and Dahmer turns on Exorcist 3.
What a way to be romantical.
Yeah, Exorcist, the third one. I've never seen the third one.
Everyone knows you're only supposed to watch the first one. So like,
I know, but he turns on Exorcist 3. And while he's watching The Exorcist, he's starting to get really weird and excited whenever the possession things are going on. Okay. So like anytime anyone would be possessed and they were performing the exorcism, it got him like a little excited.
And like death.
Tracy was really weirded out by it. So Dahmer took a pair of handcuffs and he put one cuff on Tracy's wrist. And then he laid his head on his chest and he said, I'm going to eat your heart.
And he wasn't kidding.
And he wasn't kidding. So Tracy goes, I gotta pee. I gotta pee.
Was he with Forrest?
Yeah, like Forrest Gump. I gotta pee. So he gets up and he walks to the bathroom. He goes in the bathroom. He's at this point, he's had some drugs in his system, so he's a little out of it. But he looks in the mirror and he gives himself a pep talk, and he's like, yo, you gotta get the fuck out of here. Like, you gotta go. So he comes out of the bathroom and he grabs something and he hits Dahmer on the head with it and runs out the door.
That's what I'm talking about. He's
running down the street and police see some random dude running down the street with a handcuff hanging off of his wrist. So they pull over and stop him. They're like, what's going on? He goes, listen, I just came from this guy's apartment. It's this apartment, 213. I was in there. We were hanging out and he got really weird. And I feel like he was trying to kill me. Like, I think something was going on. I had a couple drinks, but I feel really weird. Maybe he even gave me some drugs. So the cops, they're like, all right, let's go check this situation out. Let's go see the weird guy in 213. Police pull up to the house and Dahmer opens the door, and right away they smell something weird, literally and figuratively. But they get this whiff and they're like, this dude's weird. Something doesn't smell right. We got to check this place out. So they're like, hey, can we come in for a second? And so they come in.
He let him in.
He let him in. And, you know, he's a talker. Dahmer's a bit of a talker. So they're asking him some questions. They're like, yeah, this guy says you were acting weird. You know, what's going on in here? And so Dahmer starts talking. And eventually he shows them, somehow the cops got him to show them some pictures. And the pictures he shows are like some Polaroids of men posing nude. The picture of these men, the men start to look more drugged up and sleepy. And then, you know, they're just getting really suspicious. So they decide to, I don't know how all the way it all played out, but they decided to search his apartment. And when they did, they discovered everything. They
I can't believe he let him.
The skulls. I don't know how it all played out of what transpired to get them to be able to search the apartment, but they did.
Ooh, we should try to get those guys and talk to them. That'd be cool.
There's actually Oxygen did a documentary, a 2-part series a couple years ago called Dahmer on Dahmer, and the police that investigated his crime are all on it. It's pretty cool. You guys should watch it. I only saw part of the first part. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I really want to watch it.
Maybe I'll watch it, but honestly, like, once a week for true crime is enough for me because I don't like listening to killing more than once a week.
Oh, well, I'm
My
going to
true
watch
crime
it.
fix comes from Wife of Crime, and that's where yours should come from. Shameless plug. Hashtag vote for Russ.
So now, when they were searching the apartment, they found everything. They found the skulls, the shrine. They found the dead body parts in the freezer. He, literally, he just started talking.
He was like, He's like, hey, you hungry?
They also found a giant blue, steel drum in his bedroom, and it was full of acid and sludge. So he had been putting a lot of the dismembered bodies in there, and, that they were dissolving in the acid.
He probably was running out of places to put these dead people. I mean, It's an apartment. Apartments aren't that big.
So now they brought Dahmer in, he's in the interrogation room, and he literally confessed to everything. Okay. Police interrogated him for a few hours. And actually, there was one police officer who was a recovering alcoholic. And he was somebody who a lot of criminals would talk to because he was like the nice guy. He was like the good cop. Out of the good cop, bad cop, he was always the good cop. And he would offer them, coffee, cigarettes. He really
Rum and Cokes?
Not rum and coke. But when he found out that Dahmer was an alcoholic and that he struggled with this, it's something that he really played up. He's like, I'm a recovering alcoholic, really leveled with him. And it got Dahmer to open up.
I mean, he was already busted. You could say whatever at that point. It's a wrap for you.
Yeah. So he ended up opening up, though, and telling them everything. He didn't remember names of the victims, but he told them pretty much everything he did.
Said he had 17?
17, yeah.
I can't remember 17 people's names. I bump into people all the time. I'm like,
I know, but you didn't kill them.
Yeah, but these are people that I like, too. And I'm like, what's up, bro?
So now...
Hashtag what's up, bro?
So now when Dahmer ends up going to trial in January of 1992, and this is what I remember. I remember when he was on trial and everything. I was 7 years old.
How do you remember this? You were a sick little kid.
I do remember it. I remember talking to my mom and asking her, somebody really ate people? And she was like, yeah, sometimes people eat people.
You ask weird questions. You probably asked how did it taste.
I was the why kid.
Not
Why?
me.
Why does that happen? Why does someone eat people? I was that person. So now Dahmer pleaded not guilty originally, even though he had already confessed everything to police. But then his defense team changed his plea to a guilty by reason of insanity. His poor father had to sit through this trial, and he had to hear everything his son did for the first time. There was no... here's a warning, your son did some really crazy shit. No, his father heard all of this for the first time in the courtroom.
He did not have to sit through that. That's a choice.
Yeah, but he loved his son. Despite all the crazy stuff he did, he still loved him.
Yeah, well, he didn't have... Once he heard about a killing or two, you knew where it was going. So now you don't got to keep sitting through it.
Well, he sat through it.
And it's not his fault, but,
No, it's not.
I guess you want to know.
So... he did the guilty by reason of insanity plea, but the jury wasn't buying it, and they believed the prosecutor. And the prosecutor said in court, this man was fully aware of everything he did. He was not insane. He knew what he was doing, and he knew why he was doing it, and he chose to do this every time.
No, he was insane, but that's not a reason.
No. Insanity is a legal term. It's not a diagnosis. So when you're insane, you don't know what you're doing. That's the definition of insanity.
All right, in my head, he was crazy.
Yeah, he was crazy.
But he was having these thoughts, but he knew they were crazy, but he had these, things he wanted to do. And
yeah, well, if you're ever on a jury and someone tries to use the insanity plea, you know that insanity doesn't mean that you're crazy. Insanity means that you don't know what you're doing. If you're fully aware of what you're doing, then you don't get to, be guilty by reason of insanity.
Well, for the record, I'll never be on a jury because they ain't wasting my time in that damn courtroom. I'm going home.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say what I'm going to do with their letters when they send them to me.
Yeah, you said it a couple episodes ago.
Nope. I respond to them very quickly.
Okay. So February 15th, 1992, after 10 hours of deliberation, they found him guilty, but sane, not insane, on all charges.
Death penalty.
And he was sentenced to 15 consecutive life sentences. He wasn't sentenced to death. 15 life sentences.
That's so weird when they do that.
So he was going to spend something like, his sentence was like 900 years or something crazy. So he would never get out.
That's like demoralize you, I guess.
Well, it's just so that every victim is accounted for. You know? Every victim, you get accounted for every single murder you committed. Well, he got 15 and he killed 17.
Why isn't
2
it
of them
like,
he wasn't.
All right, you did all these crimes. You're going to jail. You're never leaving.
Because that's just the way they have to do it. I don't know. I didn't write the rules.
So there's no sentence as you're never leaving.
There's not a you're never leaving sentence.
It's like, or you could do it like Bronx Tale, the movie. You put him in jail. Now you can't leave.
Yeah, there's no now you can't leave sentence. It's just life sentences. Jeffrey was originally in solitary confinement, but after a few months, he requested to be in Gen Pop. He found Jesus in jail.
Oh my God!
And he was baptized. And he was very remorseful for his crimes. And when you watch interviews with him, he talks about
who cares
how remorseful he was, whether you believe or not that he was remorseful. I mean, I don't know if I believe it.
Jesus doesn't forgive you.
Well,
I hate that. Finding Jesus in jail, that doesn't mean anything. All that means is you're lonely and you're looking for a little hope. And you know what? I was going to say eat a dick, but he'd enjoy that. I was about to say eat a dick. But no, Jesus doesn't forgive you. If there's a Jesus, I'm not a religious person. Respect to your faith or not, I don't care either. But no, whoever's in charge
doesn't
forgive you.
Well, he found Jesus, he got baptized, and then he said, I want to be in Gen Pop. This is what I wonder. This is totally just a Jess theory. This is all in my head. I didn't get this anywhere. I just thought about it. Knowing the type of crimes he committed and how many people and how famous he was at this point, and how many...
he's probably the biggest celebrity in America.
And how many prisoners probably would want to kill him, A, because of what he did, and B, because of getting a name for themselves.
Yeah, you get the notoriety.
Do you think that he wanted to die because he knew going to the general population that somebody was going to kill him? Like, do you think it was his way of like finally saying, all right, like I'm going to die? Or maybe he just thought like everybody will like me. I don't know.
Maybe he thought like...
Maybe he's just so self-centered and a narcissist he didn't even think about it, and it's just me overanalyzing it. That's probably what it is.
I mean, there's a chance... That's like 50. I could see why you would think that, but I can't say for sure on that.
Yeah.
Maybe like if I watched him in these interviews and stuff, I could kind of judge his personality a little bit and profile him for other people.
Maybe. I mean, he's very, like I said, he's very honest and open, and, you know, he doesn't blame anybody but himself. He takes responsibility for what he did, you know, all that. Because
when you're in jail, right, like not as Dahmer, as like someone else, you're in there for the rest of your life, and you killed people and you're just never getting out. Whatever you did, like, you could just kill him and it's just like, it makes you kind of cool.
That's what, yeah.
And you have nothing to lose. It isn't like you're leaving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, on November 28th, 1994, Dahmer was beaten to death in a prison weight room with a metal bar, the one that you use for bench presses. Mm. And when I heard that, I thought, wow. What goes around comes around, because his first killing, he beat the guy with a barbell.
Yeah, maybe they should have chopped him up or something.
So anyway, no, I'm just saying it's kind of ironic that his first guy he beat with a barbell, and now he gets beat up in a weight room in prison with a bench press bar.
Did they ever interview the guy that killed him? That'd be interesting.
Yeah, they did. And that guy says that he wasn't doing it for the notoriety.
Oh, my God.
That he confronted...
I'm so cool that I didn't do it for, like, notoriety.
He claims that he confronted Dahmer about all the children that he molested and the things he did. And Dahmer...
That's what it is. See, because I was thinking, like, they don't... in jail, if you kill another grown-ass man, they kind of don't care. But I forgot about the kids.
Yeah. So the guy was saying that he confronted Dahmer, and then Dahmer made him upset with the things he said, and then he beat him. But, you know...
Maybe he was like, that's right, I like little kids. And the dude was like, oh, yeah, I have a little kid. Eat this pipe in your head.
Well, Dahmer didn't fight back. When the medical examiner, examined his body, there was no sign of struggle. There was no sign of fighting back. He just took the beating and he died.
Well, that might have not been the case because all it takes is one shot in the head with a metal pole to go to the ground, and then you can't defend yourself. So if the guy got the first shot off with the metal bar,
you
can't defend yourself.
Good point.
So, coroner, hit up Russ the profiler if you need some help next time.
So that's the day that Jeffrey Dahmer died, November 28th, 1994. And that's the story of one of America's most notorious serial killer, cannibal, necrophiliac sadists.
Wow, that was... The serial killer stories are more interesting to me.
Yeah.
You know who wanted us to do this story?
Who?
Chicken Parm Lou.
Lou?
Yeah,
well, there you go, Lou. Actually, my friend Nikki at work, she really wanted me to do the story too, because this is the serial killer that she's most interested in, and she talked to me about when are we going to do Dahmer. So I actually messaged her earlier today and told her we were doing it.
What up? Yeah, Jess doesn't like to do cases that are well known.
I do sometimes. I just like to sprinkle them in, but. I like to have variety. Well-known, not well-known, serial killers, missing people. I like to keep it interesting. I don't want to do the same thing every week. That's all.
All right. Well, I'll be here every week.
I'll be here every week, too. Will you be here every week, people? Hopefully.
All right. Look at Jess with that segue. All right. So I guess we're going to wrap it up. We're going to do a whole little wrap-up speech we always do. Check us out on Wife of Crime Pod on Instagram. I say this every week. That's where we are full time. You could DM us. Jess responds to everyone.
I do.
Don't say anything too weird. Just be normal people. And we have a Facebook group too.
Wife of Crime, the crime family.
Yeah, Jess isn't on there as much, but I've been telling her to do that too.
I'm not on there as much, but I have been on there pretty often.
And then what else we got?
We have wifeofcrime.com.
Oh, yeah, because we got the merch. We got the True Crime and Chill hoodies. We got the Stay Fit, Stay Alive, because got to fight the serial killers back.
And we also have a blog post for every episode, so you can look at multiple pictures that I can't post on Facebook and Instagram. I have a lot of pictures and all kinds of stuff on there. So definitely check us out.
We could post anything on there because it won't get flagged. It's our website. So if she wants to post, stuff that...
I'm not posting any really provocative stuff.
But she might, or maybe I will, because the password's on the computer.
Newsflash, Russ doesn't even know how to use the website, so it probably won't happen.
All right, guys. It's been fun.
Have a good week, guys.
See you next week.
Bye.